Good morning to everyone. I would like to thank HRDA and Dr. Mahesh, President of HRDA, once again giving me this opportunity. I also would like to thank our academic panel members for this opportunity. So this is a second webinar on behalf of Health Reforms Doctors Association. Today's topic is most important, but unfortunately most neglected topic. So mental health issues in medical fraternity. Probably in our medical career, we have seen many of our friends, colleagues suffering with mental issues, committing suicides. Why this is happening? What are the solutions? How to prevent these unfortunate events? Probably we should listen from the experts. So today we are going to discuss on mental health issues in medical fraternity. So today we have fantastic and expert speakers, Dr. Anurag Srivastava, Dr. Vas Immadishetty, Dr. Naveen Kumar. But unfortunately, due to major personal loss, Dr. Vas is not available for his lecture. But we are happy. So just now he shared with us, he is available for question and answer session. We missed you, sir, for this session. Probably we'll be in touch with you for this same continuation of these mental health issues. When I am preparing for these topics, questions, and all those things, I came to know this is a very, very important topic. Probably we should conduct one more session on this, going into the depth of this subject to help our medical friends. So, coming to the reality of the job, everyone knows these situations. Long working hours, there is emotional work, there is a no work-life balance, multitasking, high responsibility. We need to take too many times critical decisions, poor social life, fear of failure, increasing competition from the ongoing population increase, are difficult patients, and in our hospitals we know workaholics are admired. So in these current situations, so how to overcome these issues and still we can maintain personal as well as professional harmony and professional physical as well as mental health. Let us listen from the experts and too many questions from the medical students also. So probably we'll hear from the experts. It's a great pleasure to introduce our speakers. Today we have two speakers and one speaker is available for question and answer session. Now I would like to introduce Dr. Anurag Srivastava. Who is a professor and head of the department Psychiatry, Medicity Institute of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad, who is graduated from MBBS, MGM Medical College, Indore in 1993, MD in Psychiatry from NH Municipal Medical College, Ahmedabad in 1998. So, with a graduate training program, Psychoanalytic Psychotherapy at Antarnath, Ahmedabad in 1996 to 99. Who is a currently teacher, therapist, and occasional psychiatrist, and is a full-time dad, husband, and travel blogger. So, thank you, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We would like to hear from you. Our next speaker, Dr. Dagudu Naveen Kumar, who has done DMs in addiction psychiatry from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and MD Psychiatry from Sri Venkateshwara Medical College, Tirupati, and MBBS from Kurnool Medical College, and who got first prize in Easy Quiz in 2010, Indian Psychiatric Society, AP Chapter, Hyderabad. In 2017, he got again first prize in debate at first National Conference on Addiction Psychiatry. In 2019, Best Research Award, AIMS Research Day in New Delhi. And in 2019, achievement of addiction medicine certificate from International Society of Addiction Medicine, Canada. So, who has presented many lectures at various forums. We will now to hear from these speakers. So, now I would like to invite Dr. Anurag Srivastava sir for his lecture. Anurag sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Raghu.
Now I'm stopping, sir, sharing the screen.
Okay. I will share the screen. There are many slides in that, but I'm going to use only a few of those. So good morning, everybody. I think this is a very appropriate time to talk about all the stress that the medical profession and people practicing medicine of in any specialty face. So there are things which we have always faced, and then there are things which are very unique, once in a lifetime, one hopes. This is a one in a lifetime kind of crisis which we are facing today. So if we look at what is stress. So stress is defined as an internal state which can be caused by either physical demands of the body or by environmental and social situations which are called stressors, which in our perception are harmful for us. We are not able to control them and they exceed our resources for coping. So what we are going to try to do in this is we are trying to look at the factors which cause stress, and then more importantly, what can we do about that? Now, as we all know, a little bit of stress in our life helps us to adapt. If there are no exams, we are unlikely to study. If there isn't a test, we are not likely to prepare. If I don't have a presentation, I'm not likely to practice. So a little bit of stress is important for us to prepare for the danger, for the challenge, for the task. But there comes a point of time. So initially, if you look at the curve, as the stress increases,
Yes.
our performance increases a little bit, and it increases to a certain point. Then comes a tipping point when the stress is so much that our performance actually starts to fall.
Yeah,
And as the stress keeps on increasing, our performance becomes worse. So while a certain degree of stress can be helpful, excess amount of stress is detrimental for all of us. Now, there are many kinds of stress that we all face in our lives. But I wanted to focus on some of the things. The most important thing that I'm going to focus on today is what I call infinite goals. Infinite goals. And a lot of those goals are centered around money. They may also be centered around power and recognition and fame. But this is something which is going to be the central point of the next 10, 12 minutes that we are going to discuss this. So a lot of people say that money is the root of all evil, but the real quotation is, for the love of money is the root of all evil. Money is not the root of evil. Money is essential for life. Money makes the world go round. Not having enough money to have our basics needs met will be a major source of stress. The question which arises is, how much money do I need? And that is something that we are going to focus on a lot here. So if you look at the model of stress which is there, one of the things which is most important is perception. People are affected not by events, but by the view they take of them. So there can be one student who can be extremely disappointed and stressed out that he got a 97 out of 100 on a test, because it's important for him and he felt that he is going to be able to do it and he is going to score a perfect 100, and then 97 makes him stressed out. Well, another chap, people like me, If we get an 85, we are very happy, like, my God, I did so well in this exam. And the guy who has got the 97, he's looking at me and sort of thinking that what's wrong with you? I mean, like, you got an 85 and you're happy, and I'm looking at him and saying that what's wrong with you? You got a 97 and you're still stressed. So you see, perception is a very important thing in stress. After that, once we perceive something as a stress, then we have certain defenses. We use defenses, we use adaptive modes to get rid of the stress. And as you can see, one of the stress has been deflected away by slightly by the perception and then by the defenses. But after that, what happens is that we start to get psychological and physiological responses. We try to manage those responses, and if we are unable to manage those, it leads to an illness behavior. Now, if we look at what are the stresses which are there, so Dr. Raghu pointed out in the slide, there are some stresses which are inherent to the medical profession. We're dealing with human lives, and it's always more stressful. You know, a guy who is repairing a mobile phone is never going to have as much stress as a guy who is performing a CABG, for example. So the very fact that we are dealing with human lives and errors can lead to irreparable loss is in itself a stressful situation. Then there are the particulars of our country and our demographics which we cannot change. We have hardly a doctor for every 1,000 people. And it's very obvious in these days that there are simply not enough doctors for the number of people who are there who need to be treated. But that is also something that we can't do really very much about. We are trying to increase the number of medical seats and so on and so forth, but we are way behind where we should be. We don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the reserve in our system, we don't have the capacity, we don't have enough money. There are all of these factors which contribute to the stress, but there's not much that we as doctors can do about it. Some people who are in the administration can probably help with some of the administrative factors, but there's not much that we can do about some inherent stressors which are there in the medical system. But then there are other things which are very individual for us. They're very individual to us. And that is where the perception is very important. Now, when I talk about infinite goals, I'll give you an example. You see, we have been conditioned from the beginning to perform or perish. That is because that is how we got into medicine in the first place, right? We outperformed so many people. 1 lakh people will write that exam, 4,000 people will get a medical seat. So we are outperforming. Initially, we are probably pressured by parents, by society, by the culture, by the environment, and somewhat by ourselves, because we need to perform in order to feel good about ourselves. But slowly, what happens is that a lot of us, I'm not saying this for everybody, it's impossible to individualize each and everything. But for a lot of people, we start to equate performance with self esteem. Performance with self esteem. How good a person I am or how good a doctor I am depends on how many people I'm seeing, how much money I'm making, what is my popularity, what is my rating and my ranking. It starts to go beyond merely professional boundaries. So I start to feel bad about myself if, in my opinion, my performance is not good enough. Then I'm a failure. I'm not a success. So these things sneak into our minds. We don't even realize when it has happened. But a lot of us are very, very upset if we do not see ourselves as professional success. Now, a major source of the stress, apart from those factors which I already mentioned, which we can't do much about, we can't do much about the fact that there's only one doctor for every 1,000 patients here. But one of the things which we do for ourselves is that our goals are infinite, in the sense that we don't have a clear idea about what our goals are. Whether it is financial or it is professional or even if it is personal, we sometimes don't have clarity and we don't work to a plan. For example, a lot of doctors, most of the doctors do not set reasonable limits for their working hours or the number of people that they will see. We don't do that. There are people, it's common to see signboards saying Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. only. Really? 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. only on Sunday morning. You see, we are setting ourselves up for stress. There are innumerable studies, and if you look at the developed countries which have the luxury of having a quality of life, of choosing a particular quality of life, no developed country asks people to work 6 days a week. 5 days a week is the norm. The weekends are only open for emergencies. Only open for emergencies. I know a very famous psychiatrist here in Hyderabad who used to travel 150, 200 kilometers away to a rural place on the first, third, and if there was a fifth Sunday every day to see patients there. And this is a successful psychiatrist with a good practice, but he is willing to devote 2 Sundays in order to go and see patients at a rural area. Now, in these kind of things, when we put these kind of things, 10, 12, 14-hour working hours, 6 days a week, and sometimes even on Sunday, and I will do this emergency anytime, there are 2 reasons for this. Number one is the famous argument that there are so many people, how can I refuse them? Well, that is only partially correct. I will tell you that if we look deep in our hearts, if I say that, okay, 5 days a week you work for money, Saturday and Sunday, because there are so many patients you are working, you do it free. Will any of us do it? No. No. There is a very strong reason here that we want that position, that power, the money which comes with it. Without that, we will not place such harsh working conditions on ourselves. Even when people, for example, a lot of our colleagues will be working in government setup where there are huge number of cases. But the thing is that there is a limit to the working hours there. But we will work for those hours. Then we want to push in some more things in the practice. We are all like that. I'm also like that. I teach at a medical college, but after that I will practice. And then it will be that, there was a time a few years ago, more than a decade ago now, when I noticed that I'm closing my clinic at midnight. Midnight. That's insane. Why am I doing it? Happily, I don't do that anymore. The thing is that we have to ask ourselves whether we have set ourselves any personal limits, that I will work these many hours. I will keep some time for the other activities in life, because I think that is the single greatest amount of stress reduction that we can do. Are we paying importance to other areas of our life? Like the common joke which goes is that the little boy ran into his grandmother's room and said, Mom, Nanama, I'm going to sleep with you. I don't want to sleep in my room alone. She said, okay, you can sleep with me. What's the problem? He said, no, in the night, I see ghosts in my room. What do you mean ghosts in your room? So in the night, sometimes I'm half asleep, I'm half awake. I see 2 figures. They're dressed in white. They're looking down at me. After some time, they go away. So the grandmother told him, well, they're not ghosts. Those are your parents. They're doctors. They come back home after you have gone to sleep. It's a joke, but it's not very untrue. Many of us, especially, I'm sorry to say, it might sound a little sexist here, but the gentlemen, especially, don't have enough time for their children, don't really have enough time for their families, don't have time for their own hobbies, their own interests. We have made overworking a virtue. Oh, I see 80 patients a day. Wow. I mean, I think people are magicians. I work even on Sundays. We make it sound as if it's a good thing, but it isn't. It isn't. You see, in countries which have the highest quality of life, the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Finland, Norway, Denmark, or even countries like Germany, France, Belgium, they have a 35-hour work week, 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. Why do they enforce that? In fact, there's a law. Why do they enforce that? Because they understand that is important for quality of life. Now, here the common argument will come up, oh, but we need the money. We are a poor country, we need the money. Right? We do need the money. The question is, how much money do you need? See, that is where the infinite goal thing again comes into play. Most of us don't really have a target that I need this much for my children's education. I need this much for a contingency. I need this much for a retirement. Let me have a reasonable idea about that. Let me work to save towards those things and be content with that. We won't do that. You know, there's a movie called Up in the Air. I don't know how many of you have seen it. George Clooney in it, in which his job involves a lot of traveling, and he loves to travel, and he's a workaholic, and he hates being at home. He's single, no dependents, very few family ties, and all that. A young girl has joined the firm, and he is being forced by his boss to train her. So one of the things he says in that he's saving all the miles that he gets, reward miles on his, because he travels so much, and he's saving up all his miles that he earns because of his frequent flyer program. And she asked him that, so how many miles do you have? He said, no, I don't want to tell you. She said, why, is it a secret number? So he said, okay, I'll tell you. I'm saving to reach 10 million miles. She said, oh. And he says, you don't understand. Only 7 people have 10 million miles they have earned on frequent flyer programs. More people have walked on the moon. It's a very important milestone to have. She said, okay, once you save 10 million miles, where are you going to go? He said, no, I'm not going to go anywhere. I travel a lot. I don't want to go anywhere. Then she asked him a very important question. She said, so you are saving just to save. You are saving just to save. And I think that is the fate of many of us. We don't even know what our goals are. We are saving, we are earning, and we want to earn more, and we want to save more, or we want to spend more. Spending is still all right, at least you're having a good time. But you see, not having finite goals is a very important factor in taking on so much workload that our life becomes full of stress. And I would invite all of our colleagues to think honestly, that is there a life beyond your work? Is your work a means of satisfaction? Yes. A means of earning money for financial security? Yes. A means of having, prestige and all this? Yes. But in a limited way. Do we have enough time to do other things? Do we give importance to those other things? Do we prioritize those things in our lives? Because if we don't, then actually what we are doing is that, along with the factors which are stressful inherently built into our profession, which we can't do much about, our own attitude and our own way of looking at things makes it stressful. So I will skip all of this quickly to what can be done. The positive coping styles. So positive coping style, the number one positive coping style is problem solving. Problem solving basically means first identify the problem. If you want to moan and groan about it, moan and groan about it. It's all right. Moan and groan to your heart's content, and then figure out a way of solving it. Utilizing social support. This is just a line on a slide for all of us. For most of us, it is just a line on the slide which we will see. We will think that, okay, when is Dr. Anurag going to stop? And we are going to dismiss it. We never do it. Social support doesn't mean that I have 4 hours devoted on my Sunday evening for social support. No. These things are part of life. They are enmeshed in your life. You should have it every day. Do you know that 90% of French people have the most important meal of the day together with the family every single day? Every single day. Irrespective of. There are some Western countries or advanced countries which have that workaholic culture also. The United States is one of them. Japan. In fact, most of the Southeast Asian countries have a very, very bad work-life balance. Jack Ma, that the owner of the Alibaba, said something horrible the other day. He said that I believe in the 996, he said. What is 996? People should work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. The thing is that if you become a billionaire, you can say any bullshit, any nonsense, any crap, everybody will listen to you because you're a billionaire. What does it do to the quality of your life? Is that how you want to live? You see, when we focus so much on one area of our life, there is a limit to the satisfaction that that area will give you. And you'll hit that limit. But if you devote lesser amount of time to one area and more amount of time distributed equally to different areas of your life, the satisfaction that you will get is going to be very high. And I strongly ask all of you, if there is one thing that I want to stress on, stress is because of the gap between your ambition and your reality. You see, that is important. If the gap between ambition and achievement is too much, that is going to create stress. So you know what we always do? We never lower our ambitions. We always try to achieve more and more and try to get to the ambition. We can do that. It's a free country, but that is the pathway to stress. I'm not saying that we should have no ambitions. I'm saying we should have reasonable ambitions and not always try to have sky high ambitions and then work ourselves to death trying to reach them. So thank you very much. I know that we have had a small time here, but what I hope is that in our discussion we will be able to do some more things and talk about other things and see what we can do about it. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Raghu.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anurag sir, for your wonderful lecture. To having a realistic goals and working towards satisfaction in all domains of life other than our professional life. So now I would like to invite Dr. Naveen for his lecture. There is a small change. I told you in the beginning of the lecture. Instead of Dr. Vas, Dr. Naveen will be giving the lecture. Probably we would like to hear from Dr. Vas at the end of the session from question and answers. Dr. Naveen, so there is a brief introduction. Now I'll share my presentation. Maybe Dr. Naveen, you can carry on. Already I have given your introduction. Dr. Naveen, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Raghavendra. And good morning to all. After the wonderful presentation by Dr. Anurag Srivastava, Professor and HOD of the Medicity, my presentation on suicide among the doctors. Maybe after the wonderful talk, whatever the talk which I have given, it's a obviously it look like a lesser than that. So that's a great of the Dr. Anurag Srivastava, sir. Sir, wonderful presentation, sir. Thank you. Next thing is our topic is so important among the doctors. The essential topic is the suicide among the doctors. So why it is the up to so far the evidence we have after the so many systematic reviews and meta-analysis, the quantitative and as well as qualitative data has showing that enormous data highlighting that the suicides ratio compared to general population is very high among the when compared to other across the all professions. So these two groups of professions are there in the doctors itself is the physicians having of highly represented in the suicides when compared to general population. And gender differential ratios also noted from the compared to general population, where the females physicians have showing of highly represented in the suicides when compared to general population. Around the 2.227 ratio with the general population, whereas the male physicians around the 1.1, 1.4 position. So why it is happening, let me discuss in subsequently. This is the up to so far what we have, this is the reality, this is a fact we have to accept. So deaths and suicide by the committed by the suicides are the very prevalent compared to with other professions. So then we have to observe that what is the relative risk is there. Yes, around the 2 times of risk for the male doctors when compared to general population, whereas the female it's around about that around the 4 times higher than the general population. When compared to other professions, it's a more or less same or replicate with the gender ratio. Like suppose for example, male having of 1.5 to 3.8 ratio with the other professionals, all compared to engineering, other professions like suppose for example revenue, tax departments, all this when compared to that health professionals, especially doctors, having of highly represented. So this is the reality. We have to show that why it is happening, why it is the what factors are accumulating here. So if you analyze it more, we show that it is a multi-dimensional phenomenon. It's not only happening for the one sector of the regions here. When the famous movie which we call that Death by 1,000 Cuts, which showing that the cumulative injury effect make them to the ultimately the death or something outcome of the final result. So multiple small upsets, stresses, anxieties, depressions, the life changes all make them to accumulate into the burden, which resulted into a phenomenon called burnt out. It means what is mean by burnt out means here is the constellation of the syndrome by the symptoms which are showing that emotional exhaustion during their executing of their professions, and at the same time personal derealization or depersonalization experiences are more and more happening, and simultaneously there is call it a personal accomplishment becoming low, means a self-esteem becoming low. These all the features and subsets of the symptoms we call it a burnt out phenomena, and resulted into the suicides or other depressive outcomes. So this is the things, the so many factors, for example, the personal factors, the systemic related to the setup which we are working there. So that also what are the reasons we have, and our culture and trend of our profession, what the profession is expected from our behavior and work regularities and attitudes, where what the public is expected from the doctors, what are the work schedules, and as well as their attitude, professionalisms, all the set of the standards make them to the tensions between the doctors and as well as public. These are then followed by that these personal and systemic factors. The most important thing is a type of the socio-cultural environment which are working there. So these are the factors are there. What about the first personality factors? These are the personal factors in that personality areas where we have the people who are having of a type of the introverted and extroverted behavior, which make them to the tensions between the work executions. And where are the some, for example, emotional instability aspects, or suppose mood lability aspects,
Dr.
or
Naveen,
yeah, please,
so
Ravindra.
there is no slideshow. Only one slide is there on the screen. You have to
Now,
slide.
I hope this is my slide is showing the death by 1,000 cuts. Is it right?
Yeah, yeah, you are discussing the same.
Yeah, I'm discussing that.
Oh,
So,
okay, thank you.
same. Okay, because why I'm telling you that I'm holding this slide here, I wanted to explain the what is the reasons are happening here for the burnt out and as well as suicides among the doctors. Only one thing is the personal factors like personalities. The individual has their unique tendency to dispose the reactions toward the situations and stressors. Like suppose some people are the avoidant, some people are the becoming the more sensitivity to in their emotions. Some people are try for to do the spiritual and parapsychological aspects, and they become the more magical thinking. So this type of individual stresses, individual reactions make them to the what type of the outcome they have to experience. And the people who are having of poor coping skills, the people who are having of less resilience skills, the people who are having of substance use as a coping mechanism, as a self medication for that to relieve their stresses. So these type of the individual factors make them the individual level of the burden outcome. And where are the system related things, suppose the for example the persons who are working in the government sector, or the person who are the in a training period, in a residency period, or the persons who are the early career person, like suppose the very important stressful period is the first 5 years after the graduation, means the early career physicians, what they are the having of task. Suppose they are the marriage society, that the age they are the marrying age. So marriage, the new role responsibilities, and having of financial independent stresses, and having of work with the new institutes. So these are all the many things, and recently the COVID related the stresses. So these are all the make them to the more strain in their personal resilience things. So what type of the good coping things are they have, and the persons who are having of are resorted to their substance use as they're the one of the avoiding things or coping things, like suppose alcohol use or cannabis or drugs use, which make them to the result into the again the problematic level of the use, like suppose disrupting their sleep rhythms, disrupting their concentration abilities. So these are all the make the factors make them to again to the make to more stresses. Then the third thing is the socio-cultural factors which they are expected from the profession. See, our profession is such a high standard they are maintaining and having of regulated by the multiple regulatory bodies, not only the institutional policies, even the regulatory bodies and medical legal alliances, all these things make them to the more a very balanceful job we have to do to execute. So in that aspect, the our we needed to more cautious, more paranoid about the what type of the documentation we have to maintain. Suppose for example COVID reporting, COVID drug dosage and their combinations, all this make them to very dynamic and as well as very challenging in their roles to execute. So these are all the things that make them to the reasons for that, to get the more and more adverse experiences. Sometimes they make them to the challenges also. So eventually the persons who are having of the a type of a psychological a burden will develop, so resulted into the multiple stresses, multiple events make them to result into the burden. Eventually some people in that they vulnerable to get the anxiety, depressions, and sometimes the suicidality also. So what I'm telling is overall with this slide which I have shown there, suicide, the majority of the reasons are because of the psychological impact. So psychological impact we have to assess and acknowledge it, and we have to acknowledge. If you not get the insight and as well as known about the things, if then the professional help from the psychiatric side is becoming less chances. If you didn't have the step of the attitude and awareness, then they make them to again the make more risk here. So the next coming slide, which I am showing that which type of the physicians are mostly burnt out here. Here the recent meta-analysis have showing that the critical care and rheumatology and infectious diseases are highly represented in the among the all the professions when compared to the who are having of uh, very what's called surgical and as well as who are mostly dealing with the non-chronic patients having of highly very immediate results. We have showing that those professions are having of less represented in the burnt out. Then the gender differences which we have showing that here men are showing that more burnt out when compared to females are having of the more burnt out compared to men. So here the 51 to 36% of the ratio. So because the women having of multitasking ratio, multitasking role responsibilities are there. That's why the more challenges to their resilience things or coping things. And as well as the professional, family and personal and biological influences by their genetical vulnerability and as well as biological vulnerability of the female women in nature. So they make them to the more easy to burnt out. So that's why we have to protect our the women with the gender sensitive services and as well as gender sensitive attitude from the institute also we need to advocate here. So then the what I'm telling is the burnt out begin before or after the COVID pandemic. The responses coming from the majority, they acknowledge that no, burnt out is the prevalent phenomena which is there for the so many long before the pandemic also. It's not a new. So COVID-19 pandemic is a one. Definitely, it's a new challenge and new this epidemic, this pandemic make them to the more demanding more skills and more adaptations, and definitely it's challenge for the our resilience factors. But at the same time, we have to know to acknowledge that it's a not a new. We are the this burnt out is there for the before that also. So 80% are responding positively. Yes, they are the burnt outing before that also. So we needed to the systemic changes. We needed to more advocate it rather than the context related the changes. Then the what are the factors here to cause to burnt out here? So the majority of the respondents from the doctors are representing that too many bureaucratic tasks. That is the one of the means they have to handle that not only the clinical services, some the people who are the having of the more administrative aspects, then they make them to the more challenging for to get to our overcome here. Then the working style, the number of hours of the work, which they are that's the one of the second most reason, and especially the lack of third one is the lack of respect from the administrators and employers, especially the colleagues and staff, which the interdepartmental some tussles which make them to the more burnt out here that to get that. So we needed the more structural referral systems and as well as more objectivity of the communications is required here. And the following the other things are the, like suppose insurance things and lack of, so for example, even the some of the corporates we have recently we noted that the physicians or doctors who are working there in the COVID hospital designated areas also, in especially in corporates, they are also not able to sufficiently financially sufficient to give the treatment for the COVID relatives because of that much of the disparities are there in these recent times. Whereas some other professions like suppose police department, judiciary department, in recently we have seen the trend. They have to designated some COVID services. They are created and they used to start their department, their professions, make them to the certain precautions. Whereas about doctors, still we are the lacking into get this type of the responses. Second thing is so all the factors are there. So COVID-19 treating the resulted stress is the second least most common is for the contributing for the burnt out in these times. Then what is the work-life happiness? How it is affected by this COVID-19? Yes, the majority of the people, they noted that the very unhappy is a very compared to less when compared to somewhat happy. Work-life happiness is there for the before pandemic. Recently, because of the COVID, it's a reduced only somewhat of happiness only the majority of represented. Because of the COVID, there's somewhat of unhappy is there. So we need to work on what are the factors make them to affect their well-being and as well as subject to satisfactions. So we need to work on it, and that's why then only they will give some results here. Then the people who are among the doctors community, they are showing that they are ever suicidal or something attempted suicide in that they have the thought of to suicide, but they are not committed. This is the majority of the response when the people who are having of suicides. So the thoughts are coming, the thoughts of the suicide is in recent pandemics and as a recent reaction for the pandemics is not a new, and it's also it's one of the common phenomena. So we have to accept it, but at the same time we should not to neglect it. We have to analyze and assess and to properly investigate what are the factors make them to the more these type of the thoughts. So the usual thoughts we have to see that helplessness thought, unworthy thought, hopelessness thought. These type of the thoughts are progressively increasing. Then eventually the person thinks to the end of the life things. So we have to work on it. This is the threshold we have to control it. Then what type of the suicidal thoughts are very common thoughts level, not at suicidal act level. thought level, the commonest thing is the over having of we rushed rushed by the patients, the department like ops, ortho, ENT. Those people are showing the highly having of the thought of the suicidalities, and the people who are the non-contacting, less contacting with the less rushing from the public side, those people are having of less in their suicidal thoughts. Then have why have you not sought help from the burnt out or depression? So this is a very important slide to know that why our doctor community. So this is a very prevalent why the doctor community is not seek the help for their suicidal thoughts or for their depression, for their suicidal attempts also, because here this is also very dynamic phenomenon. Usually the even the personal expectations level also, they have to rectify, they have to treat their own problems by themselves. Without that, we feel it's a sign of the weakness. That is this type of the attitude we have to inculcate in the doctors community. That's why there is a reason for the not to seek the help from the psychiatry, even though they have the having of healing of thoughts of the suicides or depression or burnt out, whether they having of helplessness and hopelessness thoughts. So this type of the attitude make them to the very risky. Then the second thing is see, once we have to reveal the confidentiality aspects here, the attitude from the institute or employer, how the way it was changed, and the stigma, the perceived stigma they have. This is also one of the biggest role to not to get the seek from the psychiatric help. So this is the things that we have prevalently we have to note it. Apart from that, recently the doctors have noted that though they have the experiencing of burnt out, they feel that it's not severe. It's not severe enough to take the psychiatric help. So it means the psychiatric help, they feel that it's a very insightless conditions, or suppose the poor judgment persons, those only they have to seek the help from the psychiatrist. This is the this type of the notions and attitude they have. That is the one of the reason we have to need to change in the systemic aspects. And the self-medications, the people they feel that this burnt out and depressions are part and part of the culture, part and part of the work. So we needed to self-medicate rather than to seek the help from the counselor or something psychiatric help, because they feel that they used to take the benzodiazepines, they say they take the any opiates, or it's supposed for performance enhancing drugs or something. They have to, some people they take the numb their emotionality with the substances, very alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis and opiates. So that make them to the again to the invited that in a problematic level or harmful use levels once they get into involve physical or psychological damages. And they feel that this is too busy also it's happening. That's why we are not able to consult to psychiatry. This is also one of the reasons they are showing that. So these the things are we have to address it. We have to take to note as a serious one for to prevent the suicides and burnt outs. How do physicians cope with the burnt outs? Usually the majority of the healthy people, they used to do some positive things, like suppose exercise, socializations, and some of the negative things also they are noted predominantly. See the third one, which I have isolate myself from others. These are the things. So sometimes some people, the people who are having a vulnerability, isolation, feeling of loneliness will be getting to extreme, and that subsequently the utilizing of their positive coping resilience things make them to the weekend. So always we have to what type of the coping things we are working on our recent stress, our recent burnt out experience, or challenging experience. What type of the strategy we have to use? We have to analyze. See here. So any recent stressors or burnt out experience, we have to address with the 4 A's. One thing is what type of the sources I have to utilize. What type of the sources for this problem? We have to check it. Then what type of the strategies I have to utilize here to solve my problem, or what type of the things I have to use it as to move my life. Like suppose I am doing exercise or doing gardening or doing something hobbies, whether I am practicing or not, whether I am socializing or not, we have to check it. Then the second thing is what type of the sagacity we have to use. That's what type of the insight and wisdom we have to create it from this problem. Is there any growth? Is there any room for the growth for this from this up to so far my skills what I have to solve this experience? It may happen in the future. We have to do, what type of the skills I have need to do. These type of the resilience enhancing skills we need to work on it. Then some people are using the healthy things, like suppose going for the having of nap or sleep, and some people are drink the alcohol and binge eat also. So these some negatives and some coping things that's resulted in the what type of the consequences are. again here added to the burnt out. So with this slide, what I'm telling is the what are the factors which are the reason for to cause the suicides, and what are the how the way we have to intervene. So for example, a suicide attempt person, we have to thoroughly, as per the Mental Health Care Act 2017, which are showing that this is the decriminalization. The decriminalization is the recent amendment from the policy side also. So suicide is not a crime. So the only abatement of the suicide we needed to assess from the section 305 or 306. But what a Mental Health Care Act of the section 115, what is saying that? It is saying that every suicide or suicide attempt should need to assess thoroughly by the psychiatrist about the what are the reasons and circumstances, or something vulnerabilities or medical comorbidities or something psychiatrical comorbidities which make them to the reason for this suicide. So we needed to assess and have to give the psycho-education sessions, and as well as some psychological help in form of the debriefing to prevent the post-traumatic stress disorder for the stresses and traumas, and some supportive therapies and psycho-education sessions for to relieving their egoistic or impulsive attempts. Suppose, for example, underlying psychiatric disorders like depression, for example, anxieties, psychosis condition, we need to treat with the pharmacotherapies where we they require. So this type of the comprehensive services we needed to educate not only for the public, very essentially our among the doctors are should require. So thank you, Raghavendra, for giving this wonderful opportunity, and I would like to participate in the subsequent question and answer sessions also.
Thank you, Dr. Naveen, for your wonderful lecture on a topic which needs to be discussed, and very few people will come up with their ideas or their problems with suicidal tendencies. Even I see patients whenever they are coming with some sexual issues. So their tendencies towards psychiatric, suicidal thoughts, all those things. Probably this is a topic where it needs a lot of discussion. Probably people should come up with their problems to the specialist. Probably you can give better answers.